Good evening, and welcome to Washington, D.C. Tonight, we gather in this vibrant capital, home of the National Black Caucus of State Legislators, a historical city with a complicated past. Washington, D.C. was the result of a 7-year-long negotiation in the United States Congress, which formally passed the Residence Act of 1790 to create a permanent seat for the federal government. While technically in the South, yet close enough to the North, it was meant to act as an ideological bridge between the two. But in reality, it ensured slavery that was ingrained into every aspect of life in the federal city. For the first 72 years of its existence, Washington, D.C. flourished on slavery. Enslaved laborers helped build America's dream of democracy that still stand today, including the White House and the Capitol building. They tended to the founding fathers, first ladies, and other politicians and their families, and they were bought and sold within city limits. As agriculture gave way to urbanization and the immorality of slavery was increasingly recognized, ideas and activism around emancipation floated throughout the district, so much so that it inspired the largest attempted slave escape in American history in 1848, when 77 enslaved people unsuccessfully fled for their freedom. And on April 16, 1862, the District of Columbia became the first emancipated area in the country, 9 months before Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation and years before Juneteenth. Following D.C. emancipation, African Americans remained in the district, creating a significant black presence in Washington. Throughout most of the 20th century, D.C. was affectionately known as Chocolate City due to its African American majority and a thriving middle and upper class who were, by all accounts, driving political power despite living in an undemocratic city where residents lack full rights and privileges of citizenship, but still bear the responsibilities of it. For nearly 220 years, Washington, D.C. residents have endured systemic inequality without oversight of its own budget or laws, or representation in Congress and in debates on national issues. The desire for D.C. statehood rests in the hearts and minds of the more than 700,000 Washingtonians in the nation's capital. Even as Washington undergoes increased gentrification, it remains a historically black city, where black people represent nearly 45% of the total population. It is also where black mayors have run the city ever since D.C. residents earned the right to elect their own mayor as a result of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. For the past 51 years, all of D.C.'s leaders have been African American, including former NBCL Nation Builder awardee Marion Barry, whose political career spanned 4 decades and included 4 terms as mayor, during which he took pride in trying to improve the fortunes of black people across the city. Washington's rich history of local activism runs deep, and supporters of statehood maintain its continuous denial is undemocratic and rooted in racism. With momentum on her side, current Mayor Muriel Bowser joins the centuries-old chorus of impassioned voices advocating for justice as she vows to continue to push for statehood until D.C.'s tragic disenfranchisement is rectified, providing full citizenship and full democracy for district residents. As Washington gentrifies, the city's rich history of activism endures, with local and national issues converging here. This city has stood as a battleground for civil rights, LGBTQIA+ equality, women's rights, and more. Its sights and sounds have been America's soundtrack, from go-go music to landmark protests and pivotal events like January 6, 2021, when our democracy faced a profound threat. Washington, D.C. has always embodied resilience and the pursuit of justice, remaining the heartbeat of our nation and a symbol of both beauty and the struggle for equality. This is the city that helped build our nation. And tonight, in Washington, we honor those who exhibit characteristics, skills, and values that are important to America. We celebrate our nation builders.